I'm Rick Bennett. I'm the president of Johns Hopkins Bayview Medical Center. I arrived here as a medical student in 1980 and then came as an intern in 1982 when it was still called Baltimore City Hospitals. I grew up in the northwest part of Baltimore, which is now a very challenged community. I grew up in a family that owned a small nursing home business, and obviously that's probably the reason I became a geriatrician. I stayed in Baltimore mainly because of Johns Hopkins Bayview. This ended up being the best place to be a geriatrician, certainly in the country and maybe in the world, in that on this campus we have the National Institute of Aging. Over the course of my career at Bayview, I spent most of my time on the faculty. I trained in geriatric medicine and was involved in the opening of the Johns Hopkins Geriatric Center, which happened in the early 90s, as well as in the building of our fellowship training program in geriatric medicine, where I served as the fellowship program director for many years. In 2003, I joined the medical center's executive team as the vice president of medical affairs. Subsequently, I became the chief operating officer, and I became the president of the medical center in 2009. There have been so many things that I've loved about being at Johns Hopkins Bayview over my career. Our focus on patient care, and our focus on doing what's right for patients, and our focus on trying to develop new models of care for patients is probably the favorite thing I like about being here. One of the really noticeable things about being at Johns Hopkins Bayview is it has the feel of a community hospital in a small town, yet it has the richness of a large academic medical center like Johns Hopkins Hospital, which is about 3 or 4 times larger than this campus. I had the most fun professionally mentoring people coming along in their careers, and I could give you a list of people that I've worked with over the decades that are now in major leadership roles both at Johns Hopkins and nationally, and that gives me the most professional satisfaction. Personally, I am a great believer in building the community of Baltimore. I grew up here, and I think we have a great city. I work very hard in a variety of ways to reach out into the community to make the city better for everyone who lives here. So I'm a great fan of travel, and actually try to do things, as I've joked, while I'm still young enough to do them. So, for example, I've seen gorillas in Uganda. A baby gorilla stepped on my foot. And I've seen pink dolphins in the Amazon. And I didn't even know pink dolphins existed until I saw them for the first time. I used 2 quotes to end many of my talks. The famous Martin Luther King quote, "The arc of history is long, but bends towards justice." And then my favorite Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of people can change the world. Indeed, it's all that ever has."